Hi, this is a video lecture to finish up our study of Chinese and East Asian culture. We're going to be focusing today on the Mongols, Japan, and Korea. You want to make sure that you have your notes so you can follow along. Remember, you guys can pause this at any time you need to, play it again, just in case you get bored of my voice or you just want to hear it some more. So let's focus and start on the Mongols. So, the Mongols in China are called the Yuan Dynasty. That's Y-U-A-N Dynasty. And they're going to rule an empire, as we already discovered last class. They're going to rule an empire that is about 11 million square miles, covering from the Pacific Ocean to the Mediterranean. They're going to cover all of China, all of Southeast Asia, which would be Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos, Russia as well, Persia, Iraq, not the Arabian Peninsula, and also not India. You can see that on the map there. So in that blank you should have from the Pacific to the Mediterranean. This is a picture of the Mongolian steppes. You don't need to write this down, but this is the traditional homeland and native homeland of the Mongol people. Huge flat surfaces, plains of grass that you can see here. Now, Genghis Khan means universal ruler, and he's the one to unite all of the Mongols together. So united Mongol nomads into one empire. Remember, this is the largest land empire in history. He is a brilliant and cruel organizer. And after his death in 1227, he's going to break his empire up into khanates, or essentially countries. Two of them are really important. One is the Yuan Dynasty in China that we're going to look at today, and the second one is the Khanate of the Golden Horde in what becomes Russia, and we're going to study that a little bit later on. His grandson is Kublai Khan. He's the grandson of Genghis Khan, and he conquers the Song Dynasty in 1279 CE and establishes the Yuan Dynasty. His accomplishments include uniting all of China once again. Remember that cycle, the mandate of heaven. And he's also going to increase trade outside of China, as we already know from the video. And they were also extremely tolerant of Chinese traditions and also of other religions. So they didn't actually force people to adopt Mongol ways. Kublai Khan was very ingenious in taking adept or able administrators and keeping them part of his administration. Kublai Khan is going to take over the peninsula of Korea, but they will not conquer Japan. Remember the kamikazes. That means divine wind that saved Japan. Kublai Khan also hosts Marco Polo. Marco Polo, switching to the next slide, was a Venetian merchant from the city-state of Venice in Italy. He visited China from 1271 to 1295. I was just looking for my book. He's going to write this book, The Travels. It's basically like the first travel journal, and he's going to talk about his journey, the problems, the people that he meets along the way. And while he's in China, he's actually going to describe coal, and he's quite taken aback by their invention of gunpowder and also noodles. So, a good read, very interesting. You can ask to look at it in class if you want to. Here's a map of Marco Polo's travels. He will leave from Venice, and then he'll travel north through the Middle East. He'll go to Accra and Baghdad, and then go take the northern Silk Road route, and then stay there for a number of years, and then eventually on his way back, he will go the southern Silk Road, or really the Indian trade route, kind of scalloping along the Indian Ocean back to Venice. This is also just interesting, just for your extra information. Mongol military, as we read in the DBQ, it's organized into tumens, and the reason why the Mongols were so effective is because of this weapon here. It's their bow. It's really it's It's different shaped than what you might expect a traditional bow to be, but it actually proved to be a lot more effective than European-style bows. Think Katniss Everdeen as a European-style bow that she would have. It's kind of long and not very wide. This one has a large curve to it, kind of like horns of bulls turned over, really. So if you turn your head, you might see it. Here's just a map of the different Khanates within the Mongolian Empire. You can see there the four ones that Crash Course mentions. The Empire of the Great Khan, that would be the Yuan dynasty, the Chagadite Khanate in Central Asia, Khanate of the Golden Horde in what becomes Russia, and the Ilkhanate in Persia. There's just another map. Here we have some representation, some art of the Mongols. The one on the left is from an Arabic writing book. The other one on the left is also from the same book, but you can see siege warfare on the right, and you can also see how the Mongols attacked on the left. Pretty cool. I'm going to give you guys links for these videos if you want to watch them. We'll not be watching them right now. Here we have a timeline. This is just interesting. The Mongols were not successful when they tried to conquer Japan. That's really their only failure, in the sense that they couldn't take over that important island group. Finally, we have the Ming Dynasty. In 1368, they're going to topple and take over the Mongols. They are going to reassert Chinese inventions, making porcelain better, developing some more tools, improving upon their invention of paper and printing. In 1405 to 1433, there's an important Chinese explorer named Zheng He. He's going to explore Southeast Asia, and there's also evidence that he made trips to Eastern Africa. He really expands the trading, which you want to note on your notes, and he's also going to demonstrate China's power. However, after this, China starts to turn inward. They start to see Chinese superiority, or the belief in the superiority of China, and they're going to isolate themselves from the West. This is just a diagram comparing Zheng He's ship as well as Columbus' ship. You can obviously see that Zheng He or Zheng He is much bigger than Columbus' ship. He sails 3, remember, in 1492, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. I believe he was on the Santa Maria too, if I recall. All right, Japanese, very quickly. Japan on a world map, you can see it's off of China. It's about the same area, the same size as the country of Germany in Europe. What you need to have in your notes, Japan, most importantly, is an archipelago. An archipelago, you may want to add on here, is a group of islands in a arc form, in a curve. There are 4 main islands, but there are around over 6,000 islands in total. Most of Japan, most of the 4 large islands are very mountainous, and there's little arable or farmable land. Japanese culture is heavily influenced by the Chinese, particularly in the areas of Buddhism. They're going to adopt Buddhism and turn it into Zen Buddhism. Feudalism, they're going to continue that rule. Their imperial ruler is an emperor, much like the Chinese emperor, although even more so important in Chinese culture because he is considered a god in Japan. They're also going to be influenced by their writing and the same style of architecture. Shinto is a traditional religious belief of Japan. Japan, when it develops, it's very polytheistic early on. Later, you have both influences from China and the evolution of Japanese religious beliefs into form of Shinto. Shinto means the way of the gods, It is native to Japan. It's an ethnic religion, mainly that only the Japanese even today still practice it. They respect both the forces of nature and ancestor worship. So they're combining both ideas about traditional Chinese religion and ancestor worship, and also ideas of Taoism, Daoism, with their respect for nature. They're also going to believe in kami, K-A-M-I. Those are, that divine spirits are very important, that they dwell in nature. That's where they live. So Shintoism really emphasizes that idea of importance with nature. Last two things, the code of Bushido is the code of the samurai. That's their warrior class. They value and are taught, as you become a samurai, loyalty, obedience, bravery, self-discipline, and honor above your own life. So often if you shame yourselves or if you shame your family, there was a practice in Bushido to where you commit ritual suicide. Family honor and upholding that honor is still a very, very important part of Japanese culture, but it's still also important in other Asian cultures, including Chinese and Korean as well. From the Chinese, they're also going to adopt feudalism. This is similar to our European form of feudalism. In Japanese, there are a couple of different terms. You have the emperor up at the top. So if you're thinking of a pyramid, the emperor will be right up here, up at the top. Then you have the shogun. He's essentially the prime minister. Then you have local lords called daimyos, D-A-I-M-Y-O. Below them, you have your warrior class, the samurai. And then making up the base of your pyramid at the bottom, you have a majority of people being peasants. Here we have some clips. I will give you a link to these separately. All right, last thing with Korea. Korea is a peninsula off of China. It is very mountainous and very rugged. It has little arable land like Japan, and it also is going to develop in isolation like China. They have extremely hot summers, freezing cold winters, and they're about the size, if you want to think geographically, about the size of Utah. That's both North and South Korea today. What you need to know in terms of RSOLs is that Korea was ruled by tribal clans early on. In 108 BCE, they're going to be conquered by the Han Dynasty, and this will really influence Korean culture because they're going to adopt Chinese forms of government. The writing will be very similar, as well as the ideas of Confucianism, Buddhism, and other parts of traditional culture as well. All right, that wraps us up for finishing our notes on the later Chinese dynasties, the Sui, the Tang, and the Song, as well as the Mongols, the Japanese, and Korea.